So, welcome to Beauty of Colors podcast, Paul. It is great to have you on the show.
I will say this. It's great to be here. And at the end of this segment, I hope you still feel the same way you do now. So
Okay, I will. So,
I'm
Paul,
joking with you.
tell us a little bit about you and what is your story?
Yeah, we all have a story. Some of us have many stories. I am married for 24 years. I have two kids in college, two boys, and my daughter's graduating high school this year. So I'll be fortunate enough to be able to pay three college tuitions next year. So yay for me. But we are very blessed in that respect. I will mention my 3-year-old Australian Shepherd. He's the only
Oh,
one that shows me affection in the house consistently, anyway.
okay.
Consistently.
And he's the
I
only one you don't have to pay for college.
right. See that something's wrong here, right? What's going on? But there's lots of love in the house for sure. But I was in the insurance business for 25 years, right out of college, and I made a transition to the self-improvement industry, so to speak, personal growth and development, motivation, mindset. You may have heard it in a number of different areas as well. I'm a speaker and a coach, advisor, consultant, however you want to dice that. I try to get people to bring the best out of themselves. And that truly is a challenge from day to day. But now people have to understand that there's no longer any limited beliefs. We have to get rid of that. You know what I mean? And we have to be able to emotionalize ourselves with what we want, and most people just go through life kind of sleepwalking, and saying, okay, what's next? Yeah, maybe I'll do this. No, I'm not going to be able to do that. And that's not the attitude to have, Clean.
So, Paul, is that your story or is there something, because you said we do have one or two or maybe many stories.
Yeah.
What started you off on this journey?
Well, yeah. Let me answer the question that you had asked.
Mhm.
The story that I start with generally is in 2009, when my son, my middle child, JP, John Paul, when he was 5, first day of kindergarten, he was all excited. His other brother was already at school, and he was playing on the chair backwards on the back porch, and it went over the 3 steps, and he smashed his head onto the concrete pavement. And my wife was, watching our 3-year-old at the time, and she catered to him, took him to the doctor. The doctor said his eye's fine. It's just a bad scrape. And he actually went to school that day, and things were healing. And that was a Wednesday. And then on Friday morning, he mentioned to us that he just peed blood in the toilet. And we're like, oh boy, that's not a good thing, Cleanne. And it turns out that JP, when he fell, ruptured the cancerous tumor on his right kidney, which was unbeknownst to us. We thought it was just maybe a contusion in his intestines or whatever have you. So we were dealt that blow that our 5-year-old son has cancer. But my wife and I don't want to say actively, but subconsciously chose to be upbeat and positive, particularly for our 5-year-old son. We can't be all worked up and nervous and crying and upset in front of him. So, we never kept the word cancer from him. We said, yeah, JP's got cancer. He's got a stage 1 Wilms tumor. He's got 37 doses of chemo. And we just kept an upbeat attitude. But it did help that we had a very gracious community pouring gifts, gift cards, meals to us. And it was just really an unbelievable sight. And we were very, very blessed. The priest at our parish had mentioned it to the congregation, and everyone was praying for us. And I felt those prayers because I felt good. It's not that I knew my son was going to be fine, which he is, thank God, but I felt good about it. You know what I mean? And that's part of the equation with our stories is we have to pull the good from it. And what I've learned with JP's cancer diagnosis and my cancer diagnosis a month later is that there is grace through suffering. And we have to find that grace. May not be easy, but I feel as though my son saved my life, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be checking myself for cancer. I was just so, bewildered that he fell and we discovered that he had a cancerous tumor on his kidney. Well, I was watching Sunday Night Football in 2009. My wife was working a second job and I found it, So it was something that now JP could relate. He said, "Oh, Dad's got cancer. Okay, I feel much better." And Dad shaved his head and everything. To help JP understand that we're all part of this together. And it really was a bonding moment, and it really enabled me to see that any challenge that we face, whether it's me living in a psychiatric institution in 2018 and then again in 2019 because of a bipolar diagnosis, it's not what happens to us, Colleen.
Mhm.
It's how we respond and how we're going to ultimately respond. We may react negatively at first, but then we got to put things together and respond in a positive way. So that's some of my stories, if you.
So, how does one master their mindset? Because with your story, you guys had to change your mindset. How does one master that?
Yeah, and I think that's something that we continually try to do for the rest of our lives. But how does someone do that? It's as simple as stating, if you want something enough and you want to say buy something material, every purchase is made emotionally and justified logically. So to master our mindset, to master and to overcome the outside circumstances that happen, whether it's illness, injury, relationship fracture, the distracted driver that cuts you off or whatever have you, we need to have that mastering of that mindset. We need to master our emotions, and we need to control our emotions where our intellect controls our emotions and not our emotions controlling our intellect. And that's a tall order. But once you have the concept down, it becomes much easier to do. It's like any habit that we form. Smoking is a habit to form, and then to quit is another habit to break. So those are just some knee-jerk examples. But in order to master our mindset, we need to become emotionalized. What is it that we want? What do we truly do? We want healing mentally, physically? Do we want an income that's more than where we are now? Do we want better relationships? What is it? And define that. And then once we have that, become emotionalized. And once we become emotionalized with it, then we can start to act on it. And that's why so many people lose 50 pounds and then gain it back, because they've changed their behavior. They didn't change their mindset. So now when their behavior changes back, they gain the weight back. It's like the set point of a thermometer on the wall. It's set at 70 degrees. Okay. When the doors open in the winter, it's going to drop down, but then kick back on. It's the same way in our heads. Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. It's a great book. And it helps us understand the mastering of our mindset, so to speak.
So you talk about books. You just said about Maxwell. Do you have an upcoming book launch, or do you have a book in process right now?
Yeah, I have 3 books in the making, so to speak. I say I've procrastinated. I've only procrastinated because I'm reading such good material right now that I'm using that to help my clients and to help people that I'm engaging with, so to speak. So I don't have any launch slated at this point, and I'm perfectly fine with that, because of the material that I've been reading has really been helping myself as well as my clients.
is when you do launch your book, are they going to be memoirs? Are they going to be fictional? Are they going to be
Yeah.
nonfiction?
There, man, you're dead on this. And we didn't discuss this prior. There is a memoir that I have that is probably going to launch after my first book, how cancer saved my life and bipolar cured it. And it's a compilation of the two that I went through. Dealing with suicidal thoughts I've never had in my life until I was 46 in 2018, and it was a challenge that I went through that I would share, Colleen, because other people can relate to it, whether it be depression or frustration or anxiety or whatever they have going on in their lives. They can use that same formula and apply it to their life and allow it to work. It's a universal law.
So, Paul, how does one break free from doubt?
That's because I published that on my marketing material a lot, and doubt is not necessarily a bad thing, but when doubt turns into worry, that's when worry turns into fear, and then anxiety, and then disease. So how does one overcome that? It all falls back, Cleanne, on what one wants. You can't get to where you're going until you know where you are. The GPS needs to know where you are before it can give you directions.
True.
And that's kind of where it is. It's simple concepts. Everything that we need in our lives to be better, to 10 times what we want to 10 times, is inside of us. It just needs to be brought out and pieced together like a puzzle. And that's what I've been mentored the past 4 years to do, and that's what I help other people like your audience to do in that respect.
So, where can the listeners get in touch with you, Paul? Do you have any upcoming speaking engagements? And what services do you offer?
Yeah, what my prospects, I say, like, is I do once a month, I do a virtual seminar, mindset mastery, I call it, to give them a better understanding of what it is, in fact, that we do, what I do, and how we can counter our challenges in life and also achieve what we want in life. So that virtual event takes place generally on the fourth Friday of the month. And I usually send out invites through Eventbrite, but I can share my email with you as well as my text line, and people sometimes just text me their email, or we correspond that way. But most people enjoy that, Cleanne, because there's a group of people, so they don't feel like it's a one-on-one where they feel uncomfortable and they have to kind of spill their guts. You know what I mean? They can just kind of sit off in the background and observe. So that's been a good method. And believe it or not, podcast, being a podcast guest has been very helpful to a lot of people as well, because they get to hear some insights, and then they can text me on my text line, what did you mean by this, or follow up on what Cleanne had said about mastering your mindset, or whatever have you.
So, what is your website address?
So what I do right now is the email and text line I share. I can give you my website because it's a long funnel website that I can email to you. We can put it on on the screen, so people can just click on the link and go from there.
Okay, sounds good, Paul. So, do
Yes.
you have any last words for the listeners? If you do, what would you say to someone who is in doubt about embracing change?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I would sum it up by this. I don't want to say cured, but I turned my life around by keeping a journal and writing 1 through 10 things that I am grateful for today. And 1 through 5 was things that have already happened. 6 through 10 were things that were going to happen. So that was very inspiring to me. And as the more I did that, and when I got negative or depressive or anxiety thoughts in my mind, I would go to that arsenal of gratitude to help me pull through whatever challenge I may be going through, and it really has been instrumental. And that's just one example, but I would leave you with that.
Okay, Paul. Well, thank you, Paul, for being on Beauty of Colors podcast.
Yes. Thank you, Cleanne. I appreciate the opportunity. I really do.